Welcome in. We are here for another episode. Checking everything. Everything looks good. Mandy, happy end of 2024. How we doing?
Happy last show of the year, Amani. I uh I have two fun things cooking right now that I got to
Okay.
share. Okay. So first thing is I am doing another Sales Tales live and it's February 4th. So mark your calendars. It's 9:30 Pacific Standard Time. February 4th, Sales Tales Live, a super fun live sales coaching session open to the public. I don't do many that are open to the public. All my coaching is private, but I had some requests for it a couple years ago. So I did a bunch this year. And the first one for next year is February 4th. And I got to tell you, I always limit it because I don't want it to be too big. I want everybody to feel like we can engage and contribute. But I always ask when people sign up, what are something you want to focus on? And the stuff that people want to focus on for this session is different than before. So I am so excited. Yeah.
Well, can you share with us what's the difference in terms of what stuff people want to focus on compared to the first one, the last one you did this year?
Yeah. People want to be more strategic next year.
Mm.
I feel like the last couple of years, people are climbing out of the weeds. There's time management stuff. They're just working on how to manage what they have in. And next year, it feels to me so far that people want to focus on strategy, which me, I love some sales strategy. So I'm excited to sink my teeth into that.
Good, good. What
Mhm.
else? You said there were two things you wanted to share.
Okay, so I bought a pair of sneaks. Have you heard of these? These shoes, sneaks?
I have not.
Okay, so Sarah Blakely, who we know and love,
Oh,
the
yes, we
creator
love
of
that.
Spanx, made sneaks. They are stiletto tennis shoes, okay? And I
Ooh.
don't wear high heels. I don't anymore. I have too many injuries to wear high heels. But
Okay.
I've watched the whole engineering of this, the way these have been made. It's taken years and years to make them. I got them this weekend. They are so comfortable. I only wore them around my house. I haven't worn them out yet. But as soon as we're done with the interview today, I have a site inspection for 5 hours. We're seeing 5 venues, and I'm taking the sneaks on a maiden voyage. I'm documenting it. So
Yes,
follow on
document.
Instagram. I'm
Yes.
documenting it. If it was a good idea or a bad idea, we'll find out in a couple hours. But I'm really excited to take the sneaks for a test run on site inspections to see how it works.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
good. That's good.
Yeah. What about you, Amani? What's happening in your weekend? I know you're grading papers. I think you're done
Yes.
tomorrow. Like, what's happening in your wrap up world?
So tomorrow's the final exam. So we give final exams tomorrow. And then I've been grading papers all weekend. I'm almost pretty much almost caught up. And then I'll have to grade the final exams or final projects. And so I think I'm in a good place. Then that's kind of the school wise. So I have to turn my grades in by January 2nd, but I try to get it done early to give the students 1 week to have any quote unquote objections or questions. Um, and then at the same time, I'm like reaching out to people for like testimonials and like endorsements for the book or whatever. Like that's the, as you know, the big project there, trying to arrange for bookstore readings and things like that. So that's kind of, that's my two big kind of projects. Yeah.
That's a lot. That's a lot to get on the books for the book for
Yes.
2025. Yeah.
Yes,
That's
it is.
exciting.
It
Amani, are you
is.
coming down to San Diego? Are you gonna come to Warwick's or are you gonna stick with just Las Vegas and LA?
For
For the
I'm
books,
open
for
to
the
going
bookstores.
everywhere. So if you have a connection at Warwick's that I can talk to, please let me know because I'm trying to arrange a tour both for that release week, but then also for throughout the whole year. Like say for example, if we go to WC in St. Louis, I'm going to try to do either a book signing before WC or right after. I'm going to
Yeah.
go to Nashville a couple times next year, so try to get in there before or after my trip there. So just trying to plan it around my travel and
Okay.
go from
Yeah. I'll send you a couple contacts that I have from my book tour as well.
there.
So
All right.
I'll
Yes.
share. I'm happy to share. No problem.
We're here to the home stretch of the school season because it is a lot. But yes, we'll have to share some learnings I learned this year about travel. So we'll do that in a future episode. But for today, who do we have the pleasure of ending our year off with?
We have a grand finale of all grand finales. So I am so excited. We have a multi-book author. He's an expert on how to grow your events business. He's been featured in Inc. magazine. He was on the cover of Meetings magazine. He's been in Forbes and more. He's a podcaster. He's the president of Event Business Formula. Welcome to the show, Eric Rozenberg.
Yes,
Thanks for
yes.
being
Round of
here.
applause. We give the round of applause. It's there. It's there. Yes, yes. Well, Maddie kind of gave a good segue to my first question. What's it like to be on a magazine cover? Tell us. Yes.
them for putting me on the cover, and more importantly, the feedback that I had on the interview and the article about growing your business. So
Good.
that's all. It's luck.
Yes, luck, but yes, but still a little bit of luck. So, Chris, I see you there in chat. I think I was able to unmute, so you should be good to go now. So we had a little muting problem there. For the viewers and the listeners who are listening in and watching, where did you grow up, and tell us about how you made your way over to the United States.
So people always ask me where you from, and I say South Florida. Then they pause. They go, "Yeah, but before that." So I cannot hide the accent. I'm born and raised in Belgium.
Nice.
And study business there. And then I launched my first business, a corporate events agency. Fast forward after almost 20 years, but in 2013, I finally convinced my wife to move to the US with our three daughters, who were 10, 7, and 3 at that time, couldn't speak a word of English. You would hear them now and you wouldn't be able to do it, to realize that they're not from here. And then so in 2013, we moved first on an investor's visa. And then after 8 months, which was quite fast, I was approved for what is called extraordinary ability, EB1, which is a visa that gives you the green card. And then we waited 4 years, 9 months, and 1 day to ask for the citizenship. And over 2 years ago, we all became American.
So I have one follow up until I turn to Mandy. But growing up, one of my soccer coaches was from Belgium. So how closely do you follow the national team from Belgium? And do you have any thoughts on their what's coming up in the World Cup 2026? I see. Go ahead, share us your thoughts.
About soccer, what we used to say in Belgium was that soccer is a game when 22 people run after a ball, and at the end, Germany wins. So it was like,
yes,
but
yes.
no, you couldn't live in Belgium without knowing about the soccer team. I do remember though in 1986 when Belgium went into the semifinal in Mexico, and the game obviously in the middle of the night. So being on the Grand Place, the square at 4 o'clock in the middle of the night, celebrating the team 3 hours before an exam, and that was about the soccer team. But that's actually I played American football in Brussels, believe it or not. I was
Okay.
inside linebacker, so yeah, I got both things now.
Good, good. Fun facts. We're learning it. Mandy, over to you.
Fun facts, inside linebacker. That's tough stuff. Tough stuff. Remind me not to get in a fight with you. Um, for so Eric, I want to shift gears for a second to the event biz, the work you do with your company, Event Business Formula. I think in events, it's 24-hour operation, multi time zones, demanding attendees, demanding messages that are being delivered in such important topics that I think it's so easy to say, I don't have time. I don't have time. I don't have time, right? It's so easy. And you
Yeah,
think that you really don't have time, but we do. And you've been quoted saying if it's important to you, you'll block time for it. For example, if you say family is important, there should be a block on your calendar for family time. So, knowing that everybody thinks they're strapped for time in events, what can event people do to better manage their time, or where do you think we're going wrong, and how can we work our way around this time issue we think we have?
Thanks, man. That's a great question. Actually, when I started my first business, and it was a cooperative and agency, and I went from one project to another. And my two first clients were Cafe de Colombia, Juan Valdez, and Cordis Johnson and Johnson. And I would say to my friends and my family, I said, "This is my business. This is my brand. Nobody does it better than I do." And I would be involved. The classical thing, until you drive like 200 miles an hour into a wall when you're going to burn out. And then I decided that that was not a way to grow a business, that I wanted to stop going from one project to another. Because at the end of the day, so, the project, you have a project, it's great. And then the project is almost over. Oh my God, I have to find a new project. Oh, great, I have a new project. And you go on and on and on. It's like an hamster wheel. So to break that cycle, first of all, I had to become aware of that. And then I decided to hire people. The first weekend when actually I had two projects at the same time, I was home. I was biting my nails like nuts. And at the end of the day, everything went well. And so I decided consciously then to start really building a business. You always hear the say you have to work on your business, not in your business. It's probably a bit of both, especially at the beginning. But I really decided that this is what I want to be doing. This is how I want to be growing the business, have more client, have more time for myself. And to come back to your question, I think one of the tools that I'm coaching people with is to create your ideal week. And your ideal week should include everything that matters in your life, professional and private. And if you're telling me, for instance, that part of your responsibilities is to do sales, and that you don't have at least 1 hour block in your calendar to do sales every day, I'm going to say, is it really that important? Or if you're telling me that being with your family, being with your kids is something important and there's nothing is blocked, I'm going to question that. And the point is, if we don't block time, it's not happening. There's always something urgent. There is always something that is unexpected, and it's happening. And so for me, it was really, and until today, it's blocking the time, is looking at the calendar, is looking at the priorities, is every Sunday looking for the week. It's every night setting the alarm, whether it's a Zoom or it's a physical meeting, setting the alarm to have the time to go to that meeting, and really looking every day what are the three things I'm going to start my day with, so that the day is successful. And is it great every day? No. Don't I have days where I'm sad or I'm depressed or struggling? Absolutely. But going back to what matters, and even before defining your vision for the next 5 to 10 years for your life and your business, that's what is helping when things are a little bit more difficult. But to your question, managing the time, it's the most important thing for me in order to do all the things that we need to be doing. And I have a funny story to illustrate that. One of the things I'm doing, I'm coaching the program of Accelerator for EO, for Entrepreneurs Organization.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm doing that for 5 years. And people were saying, oh, we don't have the time. We're always busy. And then I test them one day. I said, oh, by the way, I heard that Elon Musk is coming next week. And I actually have 10 tickets that I can give to people if you want to meet with him. And say, oh, yeah, me. And then I look at them and say, you're going to hate me. Elon Musk is not coming. I don't have any tickets, but I just proved to you that when you really want something that is important, you're going to find the time.
It's so good. People, you're so right. People always find the time. And I also like the notion of, and I've been practicing this for several years now too, of blocking things personally for your private life in your calendar looking forward. Because we always tend to just use a calendar for work stuff, but for personal stuff, like if you've wanted to go somewhere with your mom and your sisters, get it booked now. If you've wanted to, you've got a bucket list FIFA thing you want to go to, get it booked now, put it in the calendar. So I love that.
Absolutely.
I want to build on something you said. You said something about the three things. You've talked before about how you also have an accountability partner to help you with your three things. Can you share a little bit about that?
Sure. So over 5, 6 years ago, Greg and I met at a mastermind, and we decided to become accountability buddy. And so every Monday, 5:30 Eastern, we have a call of 30 minutes, him and I.
Hmm.
And every Monday, he's telling me the three things he's done, and I'm telling him the three things that I've done. And there's no way you're going to show up by not and not having done those commitments. But for instance, if you say I'm going to prepare the marketing plan for 2025, great. It's not enough to say I've done it. I have to show.
Hmm.
And of course, life happens, and then you're traveling, or you have an important opportunity that comes your way.
Yeah.
So we're still having a contact through Voxer, which is an app like WhatsApp, but it's asynchronous. But at least we have that touch point, and at least we are committed to that. And that's, you know what, when everybody, any business owners usually feel alone and overwhelmed. At least I feel alone and overwhelmed
Yeah.
sometimes. And so I'm putting systems together so that I can compensate that, and that I'm being accountable. Because at the end of the day, you can have the best team, you can have the best plan. If you don't execute on it by being accountable, nothing's going to happen.
I
Hmm.
love that you do that. And I think a lot of times people go from a corporation where there's endless measurements of accountability to running their own business. And then 5 years go by and they realize, oh, I am holding all these people accountable, but no one's holding me accountable. And how much further could I go if I just had somebody hold me accountable? And you don't have to hire somebody. You can find somebody, like find your Greg, leaders out there, go find your Greg and do a 30-minute call once a week. I really appreciate that you do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, okay, so you got a couple other things to unpack. I'm first curious, you mentioned EO. What's been the benefits to you personally and professionally for your involvement with that organization? And can you explain what EO is for people who might not have heard of it?
So EO is Entrepreneurs Organization. You have about 15,000 members worldwide. I'm part of the South Florida chapter, and it was created, I believe, 15 years ago by several people, starting with Vern Arnish. So Vern was a YPO, Young President Organization. He's the one who wrote the book Scaling Up. It's an operating system a lot of companies use. And basically, it's the same principle with a lower threshold. You don't need to have 15 million in revenue and 40 employees. It's lower. But the goal is to bring entrepreneurs together. And the goal is to have a forum. So it's a small group of 8 people on average, where you meet every month. So it's like your personal board of advisors.
Yeah.
And confidentiality is essential. And so it's creating an environment of trust where you can share anything, business, personal, any question you have in your life. And you're going to have people sharing experience that hopefully is going to help you make a decision. And then besides that, you have conferences, you have events, you have a lot of activities. But that's really the idea with entrepreneurs, which, by the way, is the same thing I'm trying to do, but just for business owners in the meetings and event industry, because you can pick any industry and you can pick any culture in any country. Human beings are not made to stay alone.
Mm.
That's one. And two, that you don't know everything. Alone, you can do nothing. And so having the opportunity to be with like-minded people, they understand that what it is to run a project. They understand what it is to have unexpected that you have to deal with. They understand that if a volcano is exploding in Iceland and the entire airspace in Europe is closed, and you have to work the whole weekend to replan everything, that they understand you don't have to explain. And just like you and me, I'm sure I give up trying to explain to my family what I'm doing. And we understand what we're all doing here. So being able to share those challenges, to share those fears, to share those questions with like-minded people that have different experiences and that genuinely want to share their own experience to help you, it's invaluable.
Okay. what is the threshold for EO, and then how are you trying to duplicate that same model for event and meetings professionals?
So the threshold for EO, depending on the chapter, would go from 1 to 2.5 million in revenue.
Yes.
And I'm not trying to duplicate. And it's if you look at any books, whether it's the Stoicism or whether it's business principle, you're gonna go back to Plato and the cave. So over the centuries, what I'm trying to do and what I've done with Even Business Formula is look at what I wish I knew when I started my first business, and then what I've learned along the way. I've built several small business and then exit them, and I've been faced with a lot of unexpected and a lot of challenges. It's a roller coaster. So I tried to put together a curriculum, but also a system helping even business owners, helping them define their 10 years vision, helping them organize themselves, helping them manage their business better, and keep on bringing information and a new way of working, so that at the end of the day they can reach the goal that they want. That's why I start the podcast, The Business of Meetings. I always wanted to have a talk show, and I thought, that's the closest thing. And now, 250 episodes later, you have guests on sales, you have guests on marketing, you have guests on human resource, you have guests on strategy, on visioning, you have guests on time management, on delegation, on mental health. It's all the things. I always start from the point of view that if I'm learning something, probably somebody else is going to learn as well.
Good, good. Okay, so first say hello to Gabriella Robuccio. Hope I said that right. Let me know. And then Chris Musgrave in the chat there. In terms of, and then I have another question on this, but he asked a question for EO. How is the information in terms of how is it vetted to prove that you actually are earning between 1 to 2.5 million?
The accountant has to certify.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, that's what I thought. Now, okay, the next question, because we're going to hop around here, I feel, because I'm sure Manny's going to ask some questions too. You've written 2 books, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Are you going to write a third one? And what lessons did you learn from writing the first 2?
Oh, wow. So the first book I wrote was 8 years ago. It's called Meeting at Sea Level. And it's the methodology that my business partner, Georgiana in Belgium, and myself, we developed and help us thrive even during the subprime crisis. And it's basically how you help organization align their face-to-face meeting with a strategy. And it was recommended by amazing people as well in our industry. So that's really the focus. The second book, which was published 2 years ago, which is Before It's Too Late, a love letter to my daughters in America, that has nothing to do with business. And it's probably the most important things that I've done in my life in terms of legacy. It's explaining to my daughters why and how we left Belgium and came to America. And it's also, if you want to really link some of the aspect to business, it's about grit, it's about perseverance, and it's about making decisions. And whatever the topic, obviously there it's very private, but very personal, sorry. But whatever the topic, I believe that when you come to a conclusion, if you don't act on it, that's very sad. So it's always lead, follow, or get out of the way. And so what I've learned writing those books, first of all, the second book, really the personal, speaking to my daughters and the next generation and my family, it's almost I don't know if the word is in English, cathartic. It's like it helps you really focus on what matters and why you do that. And what I've learned is that writing a book is extremely difficult. You need to be very consistent. Took me a year following the outline. But obviously there are other tools today. You can use AI, whatever. But for me, there was something just like recording the book. I asked a friend, do you think I should record my own book with my accent? People would not understand. Yes. And then he said, oh, I thought it was a legacy project. I said, okay, thank you. End of conversation. Do it.
Great answer.
So, yeah. And it's helping you as well to structure your ideas. So am I going to write another book? Probably. I'm very tempted to, all the curriculum I put together for the program of helping business owners. I'm thinking of writing that book for sure, and maybe another book in the future that's more personal about what's going on in the world. But it's you cannot do everything.
Yes. Yes.
I'm glad you recorded your audiobook in your voice. I've been listening to that over the last couple days, and I think you can tell when somebody's passionate about something when it's in their own voice. So I'm glad. It's nice to hear your voice. I think that
Thank
was a
you.
good
Thank you
call.
very
Yeah,
much.
that was a
Thank
good
you.
call. I want to hang here for a second with event business owners. I know Gabby, who you just said her name, who's watching here. I know she's a business owner. I know we have a lot of business owners in the audience. I think so many times, especially in events, people don't understand events. They think you plan parties. Like
Mm.
they don't understand the business, the important business elements of it. And as a result, sometimes you get pushed into an order taking mode, right?
Yes.
So for event business proprietors out there, but how can you help them shift from that task taking mode into a strategic business partner? What questions can they ask? What position can they take? What can
Brilliant.
their approach be to make that shift?
I love the question because that's exactly what the first book was about. That's exactly how we were successful, even during the subprime crisis. And it's, by the way, I have three pillars in the curriculum: the foundation, the customer, and the growth. In the pillar customer, the second session about sales is exactly that. You're absolutely right that a lot of people outside of the industry don't understand exactly what we're doing, are that we're taking orders. I would challenge that sometimes, too often, we are actually letting them put us in that box. And I give you a very concrete example. Let's say that Mandy and Amani, you have a business, and I come to pitch you, and your two business partner, and I said, "How many people are coming? How many rooms do you need? Are there any vegetarian? Do you want a welcome cocktail? Do you want a farewell dinner?" Or if I come to you and I said, Amani, Mandy, from what I understand, you business partner in that industry, you have you have an office in San Diego, an office in Las Vegas. From what I understand, your competitor are so and so and so. And from my research, I understand that the challenge that you are facing in your business is this and this and that. Is that correct? And I validate that. And then I said, okay, who is coming to this sales meeting? What do you expect your sales team to remember at the end of the sales meeting? What do you expect them to feel? What kind of emotion do you want them to have? And what do you want them to act upon after that sales meeting? How are you going to measure success? What do you expect from the sales meeting? And there comes more an assertive and advisory way of speaking with people. So if you say, Amani's going to give me three objective and Mandy's going to give me three other objective, I'm going to say, guys, you have six objective for a sales meeting. It's too much. It's too many. You should reduce it to one message, maybe two, if really you want to have an impact. Notice that I haven't asked any logistical questions yet.
Mm-hmm.
And the logistical part is what all our clients assume that we are good at. So we need to reassure them as well. But you have the testimonials from previous clients. You can reassure them on that. What is completely different is the way you approach that. So we would go in and speak for 30, 40 minutes without even speaking about logistics. And then we will move to logistics. So at the end, they will ask us even more questions about the business, but they will include us much earlier in the process for the next meeting. So we always talk about having a seat at the table. That's how we were getting the seat at the table. And I have so many examples I can share with that. But it's really the mindset of actually getting out of our comfort zone. At the beginning, I was like, talking about all the incentive trips that I was doing, the crazy things I was doing of the 50 countries in the world. It's great. It's fine. What does it do for my client? Nothing. What about the price I received from Association XYZ? They don't care. What do they care is how you're going to make sure that they shine on stage in front of the rest of their company, in front of their client. How are you going to help them reach their business objective? How is this something that is going to make a difference in their business and have an impact? That is where you bring the value. That is how you are perceived, not as an order taker, but that really as a strategic partner. And by the way, that is how you're differentiating compared to the rest of the competition.
Now, I love that. And I what I love about it is it disarms this idea that as a business owner, oh, I'm talking to the CEO. Like there's an intimidation factor for some reason where it shouldn't be there, because guess what? If you own a business, you're a CEO too. So it's
Exactly.
two CEOs in the room at the same time. And I have those conversations with people too, but I like the way you explain it, where you could put yourself at the table or you can hope to be at the table, but you're not going to put yourself at the table by asking fill in the box questions. You're never going to do that. So
Exactly.
I appreciate how you laid that out. That's good stuff.
Now, you have spent time with MPI, and if I recall correctly, you're the past chairman for the IBOD, International Board of Directors, correct?
That's correct. I was the first from Europe in 2010. Thanks for remembering that.
Okay. Well, I didn't say the date. I just said past, but still.
Fine.
But I'm curious as to how did your involvement and participation help your career personally and professionally?
That's a great question. It reminded me, my late grandfather, it was always asking me, because I was going to all those conferences and Congress of MPI, and he would go, do they pay you for that?
I
I say,
know. Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
No, they
Yeah.
don't. Excuse me. It helped me tremendously. First of all, I was learning a lot from the people around me. It helped me overcome the imposter syndrome. And I still have to meet one entrepreneur who has not faced imposter syndrome once in their life. And let me tell you, the first meeting as a chair, when I had Chuck Bowling was president COO of Mandela Bay on my left, and Ken Sanders, who was with Freeman on my right, and then Angie Pfeiffer was the investors group of a lady like Christine Duffy. I'm just thinking, what am I doing here with my small companies, barely doing several $1 million in revenue? What am I doing here? So it helped me build also confidence, learn about the business, learn about the people. But it also helped me a lot in terms of business, because bad thing, good thing, you never know. When I became chair in 2010, the three sources of revenue start going down at the same time: print advertising, live events, and membership. And so what we did, we had the strategic board meeting in October. We invited Alex Osterwalder, who has created the business model canvas. And this is a tool since then that I have been using for my business, that I have been using for people that I'm helping, which allows you to basically review your entire business model in 1 or 2 hours instead of having to do 6 months market research, whatever. So everything that I was learning was absolutely amazing for me for my business. And yes, I was obviously using it in Belgium to let people know that I was involved in the organization, that I was sharing this organization. And also, I have to tell you, we're talking about business, we're talking about people. I like to have fun as well. You only live once. And it was such an amazing group of people where we were doing things seriously without taking ourselves seriously. And it was just, I loved the experience. I was glad it was over because extremely tiring.
Yes.
But volunteering, any organization, that's I think what you're getting, what you are giving, what you're receiving, the people you're doing it with. So MPI really changed my life. And then the last thing that I can share with you about the impact that the MPI had on my life is when I came to the US and it was time to get letters of recommendation to have this EB1 visa. when my lawyer started looking at the letters, said, "How do you know those people?" I said,
Yeah.
"I
Mm.
volunteer with them, and I never asked anything. I always did what I promised I was going to do." So it's completely changed my life.
Yeah, great answer. How did it help you get over imposter syndrome, which is something that many people, both inside entrepreneurship and in traditional corporate jobs, suffer with greatly?
It's you're in the room and you're looking around, and I was wondering, my goodness, what am I doing here? I mean,
Mm.
all those people, I shouldn't. And then you just go through it, and then you focus on your role, and you focus on what you should be doing, and you being yourself. And then you realize that, my father always had, my late father always had a say. He had two says that I love it. The first one, he said, whether you're a janitor or your CEO, you're still taking your shower naked. The second thing he used to say is that the proportion of stupid people is the same at every level in every organization.
That's good.
And when
True.
you go through that, it doesn't happen overnight. But I started realizing that by being myself, by being authentically myself, by acknowledging things that I don't know, asking help for people around me, but also by focusing on the objective, why we are here, what we are doing, whether it was with the association or with my own business, then I was, moving forward and realizing the value that I have, that I'm enough. I'm not better or less than somebody else, but I'm enough. And so, do I cure that imposter syndrome completely? No, I still have it sometimes, and I know that when I identify that, I said, okay, it's not helping, it's not the reality. Forget about it. And moreover, as a business owner, but also with social media, more and more you seems to look at the life of people. It's wonderful. It's not real life. So that I think that being aware of it, and there's refocusing on why is it that you're doing what you're doing, what is your long-term view, and what you're trying to achieve. That's really the best way for me to overcome this imposter syndrome.
Great answer. Thank you. Mandy?
Well, you interact with so many business leaders in the events world. And I know as an entrepreneur, one of my biggest gripes about going to conferences is there's not enough content or programming for people like me. So, with your experience at conferences, what programming is missing? What content is missing for and 60% of the people in the events world, they are they are entrepreneurs. So, and it's not just entrepreneurs either. There's people that work in corporations, entrepreneurs. They operate like an entrepreneur. So what programming is missing? What do you wish conferences would, in our industry specifically, or even outside of our industry, what programming content do you wish there were more at conferences?
I'm glad you're asking the question. But that's exactly why I do what I'm doing and what I created that. For
Mhm.
years, I've been saying, listen, the small business are the part of the business that are actually creating the more jobs.
Mhm.
There's small business, the gig economy. I think is by 2027, it's going to be the majority of the jobs. And so I would go to conference and I would learn a lot about designing a meeting, risk management, how to negotiate with hotels, which it's very important. Okay, I'm not diminishing the importance of that, but nowhere would I have, how do I manage my business better? How do I write my 10 years vision? How do I build the right team? How do I put the processes together? How do I put my playbook together? How do I position myself? How do I grow and manage my business better? Which is why I created that, and actually starting some partnership with different organizations, because first of all, I love business, I love our industry, I love helping people, and second, um, and that's a coach who told me that and make me aware of it. No one that I would know in the industry would have had the same experience that I had. In other words, starting several small business, exiting them, and staying in this industry. So that's what I think was missing. And also, the first thing to be aware of as a business owner is that precisely that you have, whether you like it or not, even if you're a solopreneur, you have a business.
Yeah.
And so you have a responsibility to yourself first to put that system together, to make sure that you're going to focus on what you do best, and then to grow that business, to have more time for what matters to you, but also you're becoming responsible for other people, because you're providing jobs. And so the whole aspect of growing and managing a small business was something that, to me, was really missing.
Still is. So I think we should keep talking about it. I think I'm glad we're talking about it. That's great.
Yeah,
Great pleasure.
absolutely.
Hmm.
So, Eric, we've come to the point in the show where we kind of flip the script. We let you ask both myself and Mandy any question you want. Nothing is off limits. So, who do you want to ask the question to first, and what is that question?
So my first question to both of you, and you can start, whoever wants to start. What is your story? How did you get to do what you're doing today?
Mandy, you want to answer that in a minute or
Oh,
less?
Amani, there's a minute or less. There's no way. Amani, you go first. Because remember, the guest last week said that I always go first. He said he
Yes,
listens. So
yes,
you go first. You
true.
go first.
Okay, my story is, I'm gonna try to do this quickly. I grew up in hotels, started working for Marriott International at the age of 17. I was a bellman. So I was just a bellman, worked my way up from bellman to front desk supervisor, then went to work at corporate headquarters. Then I traveled all over the US, DC, Atlanta, Chicago, Dallas, Miami, Los Angeles, working for Marriott. I was general manager of a hotel, director of marketing for three, and then I was regional director of sales and marketing all along because I saw DJ Biz Markie performing at a club in DC when I was at Howard University. I had wanted to be a DJ, but I put it off because I didn't think it was a legitimate job. So when I got to LA, I started to teach myself how to DJ, then went to DJ school, Scratch Academy, and then eventually I decided to step away and retire from Marriott and pursue DJing full time. Along the way, I was able to, through my involvement with MPI, Southern California chapter, I was able to get a professor job at Cal State University Fulton, which I ended up loving. It's funny because my dad was a professor. When I was growing up, I wanted nothing to do like him. I wanted to be the exact opposite. But somehow, some way, came around, loved teaching, then wrote a book in 2020. Then I began to speak more. And now I still love teaching. About to release my second book, DJ and speaker, and that's kind of my story. And I recently, like as of a year, moved to Las Vegas to kind of grow that part of the business. That's my story.
Wow. Wow. Amazing.
Yes, thank you.
And
Your
you,
turn.
Mandy?
God. Oh boy. Wow. It all started back in Cleveland, Ohio. I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio. Um, I was working at a 40,000 square foot banquet and conference center, and we had space, but we didn't have any sleeping rooms. And so I would interact with the limited stay hotels near us. I had space, they had no space, they had rooms, I didn't have any rooms. So we did cross promotion. I became obsessed with hotels. Like once a hotel opens, it never closes. What goes on in this 24-hour operation? I was so interested in it. So in December of 1999, one of my roommates at the time, one of my gal pals, won a radio station competition where it was she filled out a form, and they flew 180 Americans to Dublin, Ireland for Y2K. The world is supposed to
Wow.
explode. And we
Yep.
got on an airplane and we went to Y2K. We went to Dublin, Ireland, and we met up with 500 other Europeans. So it was a Miller Genuine Draft / Guinness cross promotion where they entertained us. It was an incentive trip basically, but for radio listeners. And while we were there, they marketed it as big band, small venue, big mystery. So we knew we were going to a concert. We had no idea who was going to be there. They put us in a bus, took us there, dropped the curtain, and it was Smashing Pumpkins.
Mm.
And
Wow.
while I was there in 1999, I decided to make a New Year's resolution. And I said, I am going to move out of Ohio. By the time I'm 25, I'm going to apply to a whole bunch of jobs that I'm completely underqualified for and see what happens. And I had 8 months to do it. My birthday's in August. That was December. So as soon as I got back to Ohio, I applied to all these different places, and San Diego was the only place that would call me back. So I came out to San Diego, and I didn't even have a job when I came out to San Diego. I loaded up my 25-foot moving truck, came out to San Diego, and 2 weeks later I got the job at the Sheraton San Diego. And I haven't looked back. It was the best gut instinct I ever did throughout the last 24 years. The first, the however many years, the first 10 years I was on the hotel side, I had every job in the hotel, from CS manager to catering manager to director of sales and marketing, vice president of sales and marketing, all that stuff. And then in 2010, I went over to the HPN side, where I'm the client and I find hotels and venues all over the world, negotiate contracts, all that good stuff. Now, throughout the process of that, at some point, one of my clients asked me to help them build their business. And an accidental sales coaching business was born 18 years ago now. And then with that, then a book started. And then with that, then a professional speaking career happens. So, a lot of times people are like, aren't you tired? Why don't you do just one thing? It's like, nobody's asking Ryan Reynolds just to be a football coach owner, right? Nobody's asking him just to own like One Mint Mobile. Like
Right.
I do the things that challenge me and that I love. And if I can find the right time buckets to make it happen, then I do. So, and that's the same thing with Amani. Mani and I both very involved with MPI Southern California, and we decided that we would start a podcast. And we're
Love it.
almost 3 years into this,
Hmm.
and we're learning about the business of podcasting. We love podcasting, and I think that's how everything has started. It's a little bit of curiosity, and then a whole bunch of tenacity, and then things just kind of roll themselves out.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
a question, if I may.
You go ahead. I was going to ask. Go for it.
So, what are three business challenges that you see for your business in 2025?
I'll go first again, Manny. This is a little
Okay.
tougher. Give you some time
Yeah.
to think.
Okay.
I would say for me, like I coach primarily people in the music business, how to make better business decisions. I also coach hospitality professionals on how to grow their career. So for me, for the music business portion, it's just growing the coaching practice so I get more people into my program, number one. Number two is I'm releasing a book in 2025. So it's just the whole process of, number one, releasing the book. And then number two, doing all the marketing and spreading the word and speaking after the book. That's like a good challenge. That'd be number two. And then number three for me would be getting the right kind of speaking opportunities next year to grow my business. Those would be the top three challenges, I would say.
Awesome. It's very clear.
Yeah. I've been working at this all year. So
Yeah,
thank you for saying that.
good.
Oh, money. That's good.
Mandy, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think my challenges next year are the same as, well, not the same as this year. They're a little amplified. I mean, from a staffing standpoint, every year for the last several years, I invest more money into staff, right? I invest every year. 5 years ago, it was just me, and then it was just two people. Now it's three people. Now I've got six people. So for me next year, it's, maintaining, really keeping the staff happy, giving them what they need, increasing, their money if they need more money, really just keeping the machine rocking and rolling the way it's been going.
Yep.
And if I need to add somebody else, then I'll add somebody else. So just being open to that. I don't foresee that as a challenge. I just think it's just something on my mind. And then another challenge is I'm bringing on a brand new CRM next year. So I'm doing demos and all that stuff, just picking. And I know that transition. I've been through it on the corporate side. I know that transition of the CRM is a huge undertaking, and I'm prepared for it, but I'm not going in blinded on it. So I understand that. And I think the third thing is just making space and time to finish my second book. It'll come out in 2026. I know how to do it. I did it the first time. But my circumstances are much different. So I'm sure there'll be unforeseen challenges that I haven't picked up yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
What about you, Eric? What are your three
Yes.
business
Yes.
challenges for 2025?
To me, it's really one thing is making sure that more and more people know in our industry specifically that I can help them growing and managing their business. That's the main thing. And then the second thing for me is it's linked to that. It's making sure that I have all the technology in place, the platform in place, that I keep creating new opportunities for them to learn, really building this community of business owners in our industry. And the third one is more health wise. I've lost 40 pounds this year, and I need to lose the last 30. As I said, I didn't become fat overnight, so it takes time, and it's just to continue and finish until I see the six packs again. So
Yes. Very
Congratulations.
cool.
How'd you
Yeah.
do it? How did you lose the 40 pounds this year?
it's the peptides, it's the exercise, is the intermittent fasting, it's proteins, it's paying attention to not too much bread and stuff like, but really to be just consistent
Yeah.
on it.
Now that leads me
Yeah.
to my final question, which is if we could go back and talk to 21-year-old Eric and give him advice based on everything that you've learned so far in life, what advice would you give your younger self?
Hmm, that's a good one. Um, I would say is that just do it. Is the it's very interesting because I always follow my guts. And people say, "Oh, follow your dreams" and blah blah blah. I won't even go there. It's all the things I've done is always a question of serendipity and following the guts. And so I probably would be a little bit more cautious with some of the partnership I had in the past.
Mm.
Um, but it's like dating. It's not because you had a bad experience that you're not going to be dating anymore. So and I've learned from that. So my advice is just I wouldn't do it another way. That's all I could say. It's following your guts and continuing to do the things you believe you should be doing. I mean, I'm not. I always say to people, you do you, I do me, and when you reach a conclusion, act on it.
Yeah. Cool. Great answer. Mandy, you want to close us out?
Yeah, I want how can we support you? You've spent an hour with us giving us so many nuggets of wisdom. How can we support you? How can we lift you up? If people want to connect with you, how can they stay in touch?
Thank you. By the way, both of you, I'm more than happy to spend another hour one on one to work on your business challenge. That's what I love doing.
Thank
So
you.
for me, it's people can reach out to me on LinkedIn and connect with me. And if they have any business challenge, we can set up a Zoom and discuss that. And letting people know that there is finally a program for business owners in our industry to grow and manage their business, which is done by people that have by someone that has done it before. And I'm bringing also not only me but the network and the people I know. I always say if you want to go from 15 million to 100 million, you can put me in your board of advisors. I might have great question to ask you, but operationally, I've never done it. But when it comes to
Mm.
small business and growing it to several millions up to seven figures, multiple seven figures, I've done it, and so that's what I'm doing full time. It's helping our business owners in our industry to grow and manage their business.
I
Love it.
love that. And then if you're listening, if you're not watching right now, but if you're listening on one of the audio platforms for podcasting, eventbusinessformula.com. Go check out Eric Rosenberg. It's Rosen with a Z, Berg, Eric with a C. Follow him on LinkedIn and check him out on Instagram or really anywhere. If you just Google him, he's got a lot of interesting things in his podcast. Your podcast is great. We haven't even touched on that, but your podcast is spectacular. You have some really good guests, and there's always some
Thank
really
you.
good nuggets on there too. So
Yeah,
thank
it's
you for
thank
doing
you
that.
for that. It's called the Business of Meetings, and you can find it on Spotify, Apple, and all the platforms.
All the platforms. So we got to give a quick shout out to Courtney Stanley for introducing us. So thank you, Courtney. We appreciate it.
Thank you,
And
Courtney.
we will first give you a round of applause, but also just say thank you for spending time with us. This has been great. Lots of nuggets. I'm sure we could do a round two in the future. We're going to put you back in the green room really quickly and say our goodbyes. But just a round of applause for Eric for a great interview. Round of applause.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
Mandy, we have reached the end of our scheduling for 2024. When will we see the people again?
So we're gonna see the people, but we're not gonna see the people, if you know what I mean, Amani. So tune in, LinkedIn, December 23rd and December 30th, because we will put a link to one of our mini episodes on. We'll still be programming that are out there. So keep your eyes on LinkedIn and Instagram. It's Adventures in Business Live, LinkedIn and Instagram. We have lots of clips, lots of content for you to doom scroll through while you're dealing with your in-laws over the holidays. But our next big show is January 6th. We have Susan Linder for
Yes.
our next show. She's going to kick off 2025 with us. But there's going to be a lot of clips and content between now and then.
Yes. So thanks again to Eric for joining us. Wishing everyone that's watching and listening a safe and enjoyable holiday season. And with that, make sure you rate, review, and subscribe on the platforms that you're listening on or watching on. We appreciate all the support. Tell a friend. And we will see everyone live again on January 6th. But pay attention in the meantime for our clips. And Mandy, have a great holiday. We'll see you soon.
Have a great holiday. Merry, Merry, Amani.
Yes. Take care, everyone.